I've been collecting prehistoric animal figures for years. They're mostly figures of dinosaurs because that's what the companies believe people want. But there are some pterosaurs, various marine reptiles and mammals, and even a few fish and invertebrates. Although I've been collecting for years, I cannot claim my collection goes back to my childhood. Of course, I did have dinosaur figures when I was young, but I no longer own any of those. They lived in a big box with my cowboys and Indians and my zoo animals, and once I left home they were passed down to my various nieces and nephews and, sadly, are now all lost. Later, when my own children were young, of course they had dinosaur figures too, but only one of these now survives, the big safari Brachiosaurus. I've heard other collectors say they feel collecting is therapeutic, and I do believe there is truth to this. I know when I'm stressed or distressed, all I have to do is retire to my room, and all the shelves filled with order and harmony immediately start to fill me with a peace and calm. I'm interested in psychology, and I do sometimes wonder about the psychology of collecting. Why do people collect things? Is everyone a collector, or do only some people collect things? And then there are the objects of the collections themselves. Surely what a person chooses to collect says a lot about them. Stamps, coins, model cars or planes, spoons or rocks, old lithographs or comic books. My first collection was of seashells. That later expanded to include all kinds of natural objects: insects, skulls and skeletons, seed pods, fossils. I must admit, I think a large part of collecting is a need for control. One can arrange the objects of a collection neatly as one chooses. There's an order one can impose on that part of one's life, and a sense of security, serenity that comes from sitting or standing amidst that order, especially when the rest of one's life is unpredictable, chaotic. I sometimes think collecting dinosaur figures gives me a double kick. There's the order I can impose on my little world, my room. But dinosaurs were the largest creatures ever to roam the earth. To reduce them to tiny little figures that I can arrange as I will. Perhaps there's a sense of crazed power in that. And then, given the vast stretches of time that have elapsed since some of these creatures lived, these things really do help you get some grasp on that time, on the different chapters of life's evolutionary history. My kids tease me about my collecting. They call my figures toys. Nonsense, I protest, then add, hopefully not too pompously, they're not toys, they're learning aids. Although there are still so many unanswered questions about the history of life, it blows me away how much we do know. It also blows me away that there are enough people like me who want to buy these figures, for companies to want to produce them. Of course, I'm not talking about your iconic household name dinosaurs, T-Rex, Triceratops, Stegosaurus, Brachiosaurus and the like. I mean critters like Sphenacodon, Anomalocaris, Moeritherium, Mamenchisaurus or Yanchuanosaurus. I remember the first time I saw the list of safari figures advertised on the Mini-Zoo website. I was like, oh my god, they make Dimorphodon and Rhamphorhynchus, Postosuchus and Microraptor, Eos Transivia and Scutosaurus, and what? Tunkeliosteus and Nigersaurus, and Dilong and Guanlong. It was like I was in heaven. I was home. There were other people like me in the world. Well, since then, I've spent just about every spare dollar I've gotten on building up my collection. There are a few companies that make these figures, some European, some from the US, and a few in Japan. I'd like, in a little while, to introduce you to these, the major players, but first I'd like to explain why I call these figures learning aids. You see, I try to arrange most of them phylogenetically. Phylogenetics is the branch of science that describes ancestral relationships. Let me explain.